You see it in the headlines pretty much every single day. Companies are just pouring billions, literally billions, into artificial intelligence. And, with all that money flying around, there's this big, kind of scary question hanging over a lot of our heads. Is my job actually safe? So let's get into it. Let's break down what your rights really are in this new AI era. Okay, let's just cut right to the chase. Picture this. Your company calls an all-hands meeting. They announce this huge new investment in AI, but to pay for it, they've got to make some cuts. So the big question is, can they legally fire you to free up that cash? Well, the answer, as you've probably already guessed, is it's complicated.
All right, so to really unpack this, we've got to start with the absolute bedrock of employment law in the US. I mean, pretty much everything else we're going to talk about is built right on top of this one core idea.
And that idea is at-will employment. This is the default setting, you could say, in almost every single state. So what does it mean? Well, in a nutshell, it means your employer can fire you for a good reason, a bad reason, or, get this, for no reason at all. So yeah, if they come to you and say, hey, we're shifting our focus to AI, that's generally a totally legal reason to let you go. But, and this is a huge but, that is definitely not the whole story.
Right, because even though at will is the general rule of the road, there are these incredibly important exceptions. These are the guardrails that protect you from something called wrongful termination. And this right here is where your rights really start to kick in.
So, exception number 1. This is the big one: discrimination. A company simply cannot use investing in AI as a smokescreen to fire you based on who you are. We're talking about things that are protected by federal law, things like your age, sex, race, religion, disability. So let's say a company does a round of layoffs for their new AI focus, but funny thing, pretty much everyone who gets the axe is over 50. And the reason they give is that these folks lack AI skills. Well, that's not a business decision. That's a textbook example of age discrimination, and that is 100% illegal.
Okay, on to the next major protection, retaliation. This one's pretty straightforward. Your boss can't fire you because you did something you were legally allowed to do. If that happens, it's a massive red flag that you might have a wrongful termination case.
So what does this look like in the real world? Well, say you blow the whistle on something, or you file a safety complaint, or maybe you even just raise some really valid concerns internally about how these new AI investments are being managed. And then, poof, you're suddenly fired. See, that doesn't feel like a layoff, does it? It feels like retaliation. And in these cases, the timing of it all is often the smoking gun.
All right, our third big exception.
Now, this one doesn't apply to everybody, but if it applies to you, it's a game changer. We're talking about having an employment contract. As soon as you have one of those, you're not really in that simple at-will world anymore. So, if you have a contract, and you see this a lot with senior executives or people in very specialized roles, it probably says you can only be fired for just cause. That's a specific legal standard. And a really vague, hand-wavy reason like we're focusing on AI now, that might not be enough to clear the just cause bar. And if it's not, you could have a real case for breach of contract. Okay, now let's get into the really interesting stuff. This is where it all starts to feel a bit sci-fi, and the legal lines get kind of blurry. What happens when the reason you're fired isn't about the budget, but about pure performance? What if the company can actually prove that an AI is just flat out better at your job than you are?
So here's the deal. As the law stands right now, there's no protected class for humans who are slower than an AI. So on the surface, yes, a company can fire you because an algorithm is more efficient. However, and this is a big however, it becomes illegal if the way they measure that performance has a discriminatory result. So for instance, if the company rolls out a new AI proficiency test and somehow only the older workers fail, well, now you've got a serious legal problem on your hands.
Yeah, there's a legal term for this. It's called disparate impact. It's what happens when a policy that looks totally neutral on paper, like a test for everybody, ends up having a much worse effect on one specific protected group. The key thing to remember here is that the company doesn't even have to intend to discriminate. It's the lopsided outcome itself that creates the legal issue. And believe me, there are other legal landmines here too. I mean, what if the AI that's being used to evaluate you is biased itself? That's something government agencies are looking into like crazy right now. Or here's another one. What if your company brings in a new AI tool, but they don't give an employee with a disability the reasonable accommodation they need to use it, and then they fire that person for not performing well? That could be a major violation of the Americans with Disabilities Act. Okay, so let's just pull all this together and look at a quick summary. If a company just makes a straightforward business decision and says, hey, we're investing in AI, that's generally legal, low risk for them. But this second, that decision looks like it's really a cover for targeting older workers, or it happens right after you complained about something, whoa, the legal risk for that company just skyrockets. All right, now let's take a step back for a second. Let's zoom out from all the legal details and look at the huge philosophical question that's kind of hiding behind all this. It's this idea of the self-destructive paradox of chasing pure, absolute efficiency. I mean, just think it through to its logical conclusion, right? Step one, a company brings in AI to replace workers on the ground to be more efficient. Fine. Step two, they realize an AI can probably make better, more rational decisions than the human managers, so bye-bye managers. And then, eventually, who's to say the AI isn't more efficient than the very executives who made these calls in the first place? It's like a snake eating its own tail. And look, this isn't just some abstract philosophical puzzle. Some of the biggest names in tech are wrestling with this exact thing. You've got Elon Musk, who basically says this has the potential to redefine what we even think of as an economy. Then you have Sam Altman from OpenAI. He sees this whole shift as pretty much inevitable, but he says it's going to require a huge social safety net, something like universal basic income, just to keep society from falling apart. And then you have the historian Yuval Noah Harari, who, well, he puts it in about the most chilling terms you can imagine. He's worried about the creation of a massive, useless class, and that's his term, and he calls it a straight-up civilizational crisis. So this all brings us back to the real heart of the matter. The thing that stops this train of pure, cold logic isn't more logic. It has to be a conscious choice. A choice about our ethics, our values, and about what kind of world we actually want to build for ourselves. And that leads us to the final, lingering question we have to ask ourselves. If we really do follow this path of total efficiency all the way to the end, a world where human workers, human managers, and even human leaders are replaced, who is all of this for? Who is actually left to benefit from all that perfect automated efficiency?